a very warm welcome to everyone who is on the call today, and I hope that we're going to spend a really useful and stimulating time together. And it's very good to see in the question box, the chat box, people being social already on the call. So we are social people, and you'll learn more about that as you learn more about coaching. So do keep the comments and questions coming along, and I will be interacting with those throughout the session, and particularly at the end we will have a specific time for questions. So for the next hour, I'll take you through some material and interact with your questions relating to that material as it comes up. And then for the last 30 minutes, there will be a dedicated question time. So this is about the RACC, the Results Associate Certificate of Coaching. And what we do want to do today is to learn about what coaching is. And then we're going to delve into and discover a little bit, just a little bit, of the science behind how and why coaching works. We do want you to understand the process of becoming an ICF certified ACC coach. And of course, by the end of this, we hope that there is sufficient information for you to take an informed decision on choosing your coaching school. So that's where we're going to, that's the agenda. And of course, what I do want to share with you is the outcomes, not of this particular call, but of the Results Associate Certificate of Coaching. It's designed so that all students receive and leave with a very deep understanding of coaching, of what coaching is, how it works, what components there are of coaching that are always present, so that you do have an innate understanding of coaching. We also work throughout the program to develop very strong coaching skills, and we do that with a variety of activities. Lots of coaching practice is included in the program, small group practices, larger group practices, reflection time, lots of feedback being given on your coaching skills. So a very big focus on leaving the program as a competent coach. And of course, we want you to understand the neuroscience behind coaching. And the reason that we go to understand, we focus on understanding the neuroscience behind coaching is because neuroscience now has provided evidence and proof of what we've always understood about why coaching works. So that it's an essential understanding to have as you learn to coach well and as you deepen your understanding of coaching. And it also really helps you when you're actively coaching to coach people more successfully if you understand the neuroscience behind coaching. So if there's any comments or questions so far, please just type them in and we will come to them. And in fact, here's an opportunity for you to interact and to contribute to this call, because the next thing that I want to discuss is if we're to have a deep understanding of coaching, we need to decide what it is, and we need to be clear about what it is. So it would be really excellent to have a few people type in their understanding of what is coaching, and we can discuss that for a few minutes before I share a simple definition, because there are so many components to it. And it's great to see questions coming through. Multiple attendees are typing. That's what I like. And if the question is relevant to what we're talking about, I'll deal with it now. Otherwise, I'll come back to them at the end. So, okay. So, helping to people develop their KASH. And you might have to help me with that one, as what is KASH? And thank you. Vivek has shared that coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. Nicely said. Kavita, helping participants improve themselves professionally. Absolutely. It's always about improving. It's always about moving forward, maximizing their own performance, as Vivek has said. Helping a person move towards his or her goals. Yeah, and I like that word towards. That's very key in what coaching is. And there was one other now, and we're also, it's about facilitating growth, says Benjamin. Thank you. Naveen is sharing, coaching is enabling an individual to discover more of him or herself and evolve. And yes, so all of the, and Vivek additionally has added that coaching is helping the participant to learn rather than teaching them. Yes, and we've got a lovely model to that will identify that piece later on as well. Let me see what I might have missed here. Shanti, thank you. Shanti says, use questions to enable a person to create his or her own path to achieve a destination in a time-bound manner. And I'm probably not saying your name right, but Udayan, I'm not sure how to say that, and I apologize for getting that wrong. Knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. It most certainly is about habits. Great. And Devinda is talking about coaching has helped someone do a SWOT analysis and utilize their potential effectively. I'm liking all and helping make behavioral change. It is about behavioral change. It is about doing something different, achieving something new. And Shanti also adds it's specifically open-ended questions. I wish we had a whiteboard to put all these up on. We're getting some very rich, so I'll just give you another minute or so to additionally add, and then we'll, okay, so another couple of people are typing away here. Emanuela and Again is going to tell me how to say his or her name, I hope. So Emanuela, breaking patterns by watching reality. And nice, that evokes a nice visual, Emanuela. So, Udayan, thank you so much. I'm saying it well enough. I do appreciate that. So thank you so much for all of your contributions to what is coaching. And all of the things that you have come up with are indeed an element of what is coaching. And there's everything is part of that mix. So if we were trying to find a definition that was just going to very succinctly identify coaching, in a nutshell, then the NLG definition of coaching is simply facilitating positive change by improving thinking. And the facilitating piece is very important. Every word here is important. Facilitating because the coach is holding a process and facilitating the thinking of the coachee by asking those open-ended questions, by asking powerful questions, because they're not always open-ended. But so just not doing the thinking for the coachee, but holding a space by facilitating. And it is, many of you talked about going forward, evolving, behavior change, growth, and so that's how we sum all of those words up with this positive change. So definitely facilitating that positive change by improving your thinking, helping you to think more clearly, helping you to think better, and using some very simple structures and processes based on science to help you achieve that. And Shelley also adds here, coaching is specific guidelines through which one can discover personal or professional goals. And of course it is about what is it that you want to achieve in the end. So I hope that's a useful definition for you, and I'd love to hear what you think about this definition. Bringing together everything that you've contributed into one simple short sentence: facilitating positive change by improving thinking. And one of the things that really helps us understand what coaching is even better is this model called the TAPS model. And what you can see is the matrix here, and you can choose where you focus at any one time. And if you are focused in the bottom left-hand quadrant in the problem and the telling, you might be doing something different to coaching. You might be dealing with a problem, and you might be telling someone how to get around that problem. And so you might be acting like a consultant in that situation. And or you might, well, particularly if you're in the tell and the solution, you're being paid to find a solution, and you're going to be telling your client what that solution is. That's really where the consultant fits. I got confused with my other word, my other C word. Problem and telling might be around that counselling area. And more if for people that need to be told the answer to something. And it's very real in our worlds that there is a place for coaching, and there is a place for counselling, and there is a place for consulting that we've talked about. But there's also a place for the if there is a problem and you ask someone about the problem. And that might be when you'll be being a mentor and really a teacher, a trainer, and helping someone come to solution from asking more about the problem. But if you really want to be really powerfully moving people forward, we find that asking questions and helping people find their own solutions is where the coaching space is. So if you are truly coaching, you will be in that top right-hand quadrant, and you will be asking questions and the coachee will be finding solutions and going forward. So that's what the TAPS model is about. Okay, might move to the next slide, and this is a model that we commonly call the iceberg model. Many of you may have seen this model, and we find it so useful in many aspects of our training, and we come back to this time and again to illustrate, all sorts of pieces in the training. But essentially, what we do know is that the tip of the iceberg is what you see, what you can actually see. You can see the results that people get, and you can see the behaviours that they're exhibiting to get those results. And so that's what we show to the world. That's what's available to other people when they observe us. So that's the outcome of coaching, but where the coaching work really takes place is for people's internal operations, and that becomes invisible to the world. It's something that goes on within us. And what we say is that your emotions are the thing that impact your behaviours, and those behaviours impact the results you get. And your emotions are impacted by what you think. So as we build on this, you'll be able to see, for example, if you were thinking something quite positive, you might be thinking that I'm going to achieve a lot today because or I've got a lot to get through today, and the emotion that you were feeling around that was quite positive, quite happy. You were feeling engaged with the task that you were going to get involved in. Then your behaviours might be showing that you're being efficient and driving through something, and the results will be that you have probably achieved at the end of the day what you were thinking about earlier in the day. And on the other side of that, if you start to think about that I've got so much to do, I'm never going to get through this, and if you felt the emotion of overwhelm attached to that thinking, then your behaviour might that you exhibit might be something like distracted, not able to focus, not able to settle to your task, and so at the end of the day you may not have achieved very much at all because of what you were thinking right at the beginning. And so what we're going to be doing in a coaching paradigm is to really help people develop their thinking, improve that thinking, so that their emotions are more positive and that their behaviours are such that will lead to the results that they want to achieve their goal, whether that be a goal of a behavioural change or achieving something big that they've always wanted to achieve. So very much when we're in the coaching space, we are working with the thinking and people's emotions, and that will impact what they do and what results they get at the end of that. So that's the iceberg model. And Vijita has just added in that it relates to positive psychology. And yes, positive psychology, neuroscience are all very important background information for what we know about coaching today. So what I'd like to do is to take you to the next stage. And the next stage is really thinking about change through an understanding of the brain. So we can think about it through that cognitive behavioural theory of the iceberg model, and that relates to it and relates to the positive psychology. Or we can learn a little bit more about our brain. So I want to introduce you to the brain at a very high level. So there are a couple of pretty important pieces that we talk about a lot during the coaching program. And the first piece that we want to talk about is the basal ganglia and the limbic system. So the basal ganglia is attached to your nervous system. The limbic system is your emotional system within your brain, and it's deeply embedded in your brain. It's been around for a very long time, and it is where you get the impact and the effect of chemical releases in the brain. And you'll see the words cortisol and dopamine there. One of the things about the limbic system is that it has a threat and reward system, and we will learn much more about this during the program. When we are feeling threatened, we tend to exhibit or feel rather negative emotions, and those emotions could be that what we want to do is avoid something. We feel uncertain. We are feeling that we want to move away from, and we're feeling quite a large amount of stress. And that's when we release this cortisol in the brain. That's the stress what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry. It'll come back to me, and it's not that important right now, so bear with me. But that's what can happen when we feel threatened. But also, of course, the limbic system is where we experience all the positive emotions that we experience. And if we are feeling happy and what we term as a toward emotion, something where we can experience change, we are experiencing some reward. Now that reward might be in the release of a dopamine hit, and it's something that's much more pleasurable. That's what we mean by reward. And it means that we're able to, it's something we're interested in, we're engaged, we are connection focused, like we're in a learning space. I'll tell you more about connections in a moment. But we're able to take on new things. We've got an energy around us that allows this new learning and this going forward. And, you know, taking us back to what coaching was, really clearly that facilitating positive change through improving thinking, and that we're in the asking questions and coming up with solutions and being solutions focused. So you can see that to keep the emotional brain in a positive state will be very useful for people to get to where they want to be. The other piece the other piece of our brain that's very, very important for us to learn about and know quite intimately how it works is our prefrontal cortex. Now, the cortex wraps all right around the brain. It's quite a thin piece of our brain, so it's not as effective or as efficient as our more mature pieces of our brain. And one of the things about our prefrontal cortex is that it's very small. It's very energy intensive. It's quite fussy, and it's easily distracted. But the prefrontal cortex is in fact where we hold most of our information that we're currently thinking about. And you can sometimes think about the fact that you've got too much going on in your brain right now. We often say that, and that's because it's being held in this quite small space right at the front of our brain. And so it does get overfull and overloaded, and it is difficult to process sometimes things from there, because it processes things in a you could describe it as a serial manner. So it's a good habit. Well, in fact, it's where our habits begin in that prefrontal cortex. But it's a good thing to learn how to utilize our prefrontal cortex most efficiently so that we can use it powerfully. And the other tricky thing about the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system is that they do interact with each other. So if you're feeling worried about something in your prefrontal cortex, that's going to impact your limbic system with a negative response, and that's when you get the cortisol reaction. Similarly, if you are experiencing happiness, that's going to transfer to your limbic system as well. And of course that limbic system, what's going on in there at any one time, impacts how you are managing what you're holding in your prefrontal cortex. So it sounds very complicated, but the lovely thing about it now is we know enough that when we're coaching, we can really help people keep their brains much more even and manage their brains much more effectively in the way that we use our coaching skills. I'm hoping that makes a bit of sense to people. Happy to get your comments as I'm talking. And I guess thinking, if you have a close-up look at this slide, and you can see the expanded piece in the top left-hand corner there. These are our synapses, and our brains are connecting machines. So we're connecting all of these wires inside our brain all of the time. And as human beings, we're always looking to make sense of something. So we're always thinking, and we're looking at making new connections all of the time. And we use our brains quite differently. Each individual uses their brain quite differently, simply because we've got different things stored in our brain. We're all unique, and how you think and how I think and how our colleagues think will all be completely different. And that's one of the reasons that we know now that telling people what to do will not get the best response or the best outcomes, because telling them what we would do won't always be the best thing for them. And they will want to put their own spin on it and connect their own synapses, fire them together, because they do make, once you get a new thought and you decide on a new thought, that's when you get an aha moment, an insight, and that's where you get a release of the chemical dopamine. And that was the word I was looking for before, by the way, everyone, chemical release. So that's a little bit about our thinking that goes on in our brain. So happy to get questions on this. And this is another very interesting slide. About 25 years ago now, the MRI scanners were invented, and that opened up a whole new world to science and medicine. And just as an indication of how differently we all think, this is 6 different people being scanned at the same time when they have been asked the same question. And from memory of the experiment, I think it was asking them to think of a particular colour and what that evoked in their memory. And you can see that the green pieces are the pieces that under the MRI scan lit up as the pieces that were being utilised in the brain at the time that they were processing the question. So you can see that everybody used their brain completely differently. And that's the very exciting thing for us to be really clear about, and to utilise science in our coaching models so that we can really provide the best facilitation for people to get the best results that they can get. Our next slide is about, and it goes back to discussing the prefrontal cortex, and so that's what we call our working memory. That's where we're storing what we're using right now. And of course we can have several pieces of information in there at once, but as I've already said, sometimes our brain gets so full it hurts. And I'm sure you see people putting their hands up to their forehead, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to massage their prefrontal cortex because there's something going on in there that's taking up too much space or too much energy. It's such a huge amount of energy it takes to keep everything there. And imagine when you learn something new, perhaps it might be as a child you learnt to lace up your shoes or do up a button. Imagine if you couldn't make that a habit and you couldn't learn it and put it right into the back of your brain where it sits as a habit, hardwired forever. Imagine the inefficiency of our lives if we couldn't do that. One of the things that that science has tried to establish, just to give you a picture of how our working memory operates, is that if you're thinking about space, for example, our working memory would take up about 1 cubic metre of space. And yet the back of our brain, where we hold all of that information, so not in our emotional brain, but in the back of our brain, where everything that we've ever learned is held, trillions and trillions of pieces of information, you could say that in comparison with the working memory, which takes up a cubic metre of our space, the hard wiring that we have is relevant to the Milky Way. So that's just a vast difference. And if we can be coaching somebody and really helping them process things out of their working memory into their hard wiring and creating new habits for them, then that's how people get excited and go forward. The other thing about the being able to hardwire is that all of that information is really, really hard to change at any one time. So one of the things that we're doing in the coaching process using our neuroscience is help people to build new habits rather than undo an old habit, because it's so deeply embedded in our memory that it's very hard. And for many of you that may have been smokers, that undoing of that habit does prove very, very hard. And so what most people try and build is a new belief around that. And if you take that back to our iceberg model, that cognitive behavior model, what that means is working on changing our thinking. So if we change the way we think about something and we manage to attach a positive emotion to that, then our behavior can change. So all of these things, that cognitive behavior model has been around for 40, 50 years, and this neuroscience, what we've been able to learn since we've been able to really scan the brain and see inside the brain, has only been around 20, 25 years. So we're adding much, much more richness and information now to that. Someone is typing at the moment, so I'll wait and see. We're about to move on to a different piece, so if you would like to ask some questions now, I'd be really happy to interact with those. So we don't really break an old habit, says Udayan. We simply replace the old habit with a new one and a more appealing one. But the old habit remains. Is this true? Absolutely it's true. And what happens if you don't use a habit for a long time? It gets very weak, and it just gets so weak it almost disappears from your memory. But I'm sure that people who have been smokers for a long time, even if you haven't smoked for 20 years, while your new habit around that is your strong and active one, I'm sure you can still access how pleasurable it was to smoke at one time. But it's not strong like it used to be. So yes, we can replace our old habits with new ones that are much more appealing. So it's so fabulous that we can design our own lives, and neuroscience helps us how, and coaching is the modality which really helps us create our own way of having that connected. Emanuela has asked, to break an old habit you need to analyze the root causes of it, be willing to embrace change, which is generally something you do through analysis, right? Well, Emanuela, I'm not going to say that that's wrong, because that is a preferred way for many people to embrace change. What we're saying with coaching is that it's often not necessary to do a lot of analysis about the root cause. It might be just a recognition of the root cause, and then it's about making much more a vision or a visual about what it is that you want.
Participants, kindly stay connected. It seems Miss Rose's line got disconnected. We are reconnecting her. Kindly stay connected. Miss Rose, you are connected. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I just want a quick yes, you can hear me. That would be just wonderful. Thank you.
Ms. Rose, as of now,
you.
all the participants are on mute mode.
Fantastic. No, I've got it. They've been typing yes, so that's lovely. Okay, so we were discussing the brain and the hard wiring and why coaching works, etc. So let's go back to Emanuela was talking about the root cause, and I was, at the time you lost me, saying that coaching is much more about deciding what it is you do want and finding ways to achieve that. And Naveen talks about embracing change is most effective through self-reflection. And you're absolutely right, Naveen, and we teach you a process to recognize and understand how reflection works and what is it that happens within that reflection that will help people change habits. And we do that within the program. So let's have a look. So it's more forward-looking, vis-a-vis looking at the past. Absolutely, that's what coaching is about and what the program is about. Let me just, the RACC. And could be facility. Yes, that's great. Okay, so we're up to date with everybody's comments at this stage. And so what I'd like to do is to take you to some of the principles of coaching. And these are the Neuroleadership Group Principles, or NLG, if you were wondering what NLG stood for. Okay, so this will back up what we've been saying so far about the brain and creating new connections and going forward, and the TAPS model, and getting better results. So when we're coaching, we really are looking at it being self-directed learning. So this backs up that it's asking, not telling, and very much about the coachee finding their own way. And one of the things that we firmly believe is that people, we believe in the potential of people and that they have their own answers. They just haven't found the way to find that answer right now. About it might be how to solve an issue that they've got, it might be how to achieve a goal. So we very much believe that coaching is self-directed learning. And of course it is solutions focused. It's about going forward, it's about finding a new way to do something that you've never done before in quite this way. So completely solutions focused. And we do need positive feedback. There's a large element of positive feedback in the coaching conversation. And you will see again that what we've talked about with the brain, particularly the limbic system, how we now know that keeping the limbic system in a more positive state allows us to have a global view of what it is we're trying to do, and allows us to go forward. So one of the coach's key roles is to provide positive feedback in the effort that the coachee might be putting in. It might be positive feedback about the results they're getting, but we absolutely need anything that, because change is hard and creating that new habit is hard, or achieving something that you've never done before is tough because you've got no reference, no memory of it, then reinforcement of everything that you're doing via positive feedback will help you achieve the goal. And the other thing that we say as one of the core principles is that coaching is about stretch. And you've heard me saying quite a bit so far that it's about getting something that you haven't had before. So, of course, that's going to be stretchy. Your brain is going to have to make some new connections. Your working memory is going to have to think about it. And we talk about that, that prefrontal cortex being quite easily distracted, that it's a bit fussy, it's small, it takes a lot of energy. And so anything new is going to be held there in the meantime. That is where you're going to think about it. And the stretch is what makes people excited and what makes the project or the goal really worth having. Okay, and of course the other thing about coaching that is a core principle or an NLG principle is that it has structure. And this is what we teach in the courses, a very simple structure to help people think better. And that's what we talk about when we're talking about facilitating. There is a process, there is a structure, and we want to understand the structure from the communication and the conversation skills perspective, but we also want to understand the structure from how does change happen, how does change work. So those are some of the things that we this is our backbone, our principles to coaching, and you will see those come alive in the course. Someone, Kavita, asked when it's okay. Is coaching always one-to-one, or can you coach? Okay, and a few people are responding to Kavita's question, and you can coach in a group, although, as Vivek says, the objectives will be different. And yes, so there are different ways to coach, and all of those types of coaching will come up in the program. So we've got about another 10 minutes before we go to your question time. And one of the things that I want to tell you now is what is the process for you to become an ICF ACC credentialed coach. Now, I'm guessing that you know that ICF is the International Coach Federation. All of the hours in the results Associate Certificate of Coaching are approved coach-specific training hours. And there's 60 coach-specific training hours, and there's 10 mentoring hours within the program, within the 4 core units of the program. And that is enough hours and mentoring for you to then just add 100 hours of coaching and apply for your ACC, Associate Certified Coach, with the International Coach Federation. And at the end of that, you would sit a coach knowledge assessment, which is an online multi-question questionnaire. And that's all you have to do to eventually become an International Coach Federation Associate Certified Coach. But let's just talk a little bit about the core units. Core Unit 1 is called Coaching Essentials, and it is really about brain-based coaching skills. And that's the one that I'll be the lead trainer on the 17th, 18th, 19th of June in Delhi. It's 3 days of quite intense, stimulating training where you will completely understand how our brain is impacting our ability to change our behaviours and our habits. And so you'll understand that about the brain, but you will also learn the theory of all the coaching communication skills. Everything you need to learn about listening, everything you need to learn about speaking, and you will learn some really robust models that will be the structure, will provide the structure that we talked about before as one of the principles of coaching. And so at the end of those 3 days, you will have all the bases covered and you will be ready to go on to Core Unit 2, which is coaching engagements. And those teleclasses are 90-minute teleclasses, and they take you through, they advance your knowledge and advance your practice. And then at the end of that, you will be feeling very confident. Your competence will have grown tremendously. You will be coaching other people for sure by that time. And then you're ready to be go to Core Unit 3, which is your mentoring, where you will be provided with a lot of one-on-one feedback about your coaching practices and how you can use your coaching skills even more powerfully. And then the next one is to go to Core Unit 4, which is your Coach Toolkit. And this gives you some really lovely tools that you can offer your coachee to help the process of their thinking. They're they can be very creative sometimes, these tools. They can be like a prop that you might use in Iyengar yoga, something that really helps facilitate that thinking again. And I'm seeing some hands go up, so it won't be long before we can have you come off mute and ask your questions. So that is what I need to tell you now about the process. I might just flick back through the slides and just so what we have covered so far is we learned about what coaching is, and you all contributed very powerfully to that conversation and enriched the understanding for everyone else. We talked a little bit about discovering the science behind how and why coaching works, and we've just been talking about, and we talked about the principles of coaching. So we did quite a bit about the brain and then the principles of coaching and how they fit into that brain-based coaching model. And then I've just taken you through the process of what it would take to become an ICF certified ACC coach by explaining in a little bit more detail the results Associate Certificate of Coaching, the 4 units that it involves. So I think that we're ready to go to questions now, and we've got a reasonable amount of time for questions, and if people put their hands up, someone will take you off mute, and so we can talk through the questions. Are you there, Vivek? Okay. If people put their hands up, so some people are still typing, which is great, but I did understand that there was a facility to put your hands up and someone would take you off mute. Okay, I'm going to press the microphone here. I've not used this platform before. Are you there, Royce? No.
For the audio participants, if you wish to ask any question or want to share any feedback, you need to press 01 on your telephone keypad.
Okay. So,
Ms. Rose, I got the indication. Shall we take one by one?
Yes, absolutely.
Sure. The first question comes from the mobile number that ends with 74000. Your line is unmuted.
Yeah, my name is Shamla. I intend to take up coaching as a profession now, but I just wanted to know what is the scope, what is the market for coaching in India?
Okay, Shamila, thank you for asking that. And it's not a question that I can answer with any certainty for you. What I can tell you is that coaching has become a profession in India over the last 10 years, 10 or more years. And if you look onto LinkedIn, there are a large number of people that are creating businesses as coaches. Some coaches will work on contract internally. Some will be external coaches. There is a big market for coaching globally. And it's just like setting up any other business. And it's about deciding what sort of business you want in the coaching arena. Is it going to be training coaching? Is it going to be pure coaching? Is it going to be part of other things that you do? And so there's a big discussion to have around that. But I personally know many successful coaches in India, and I have a large network on LinkedIn of successful coaches. So I hope that's helpful. Okay. While we're waiting on someone else to come in by voice, there are some questions.
Can I ask one more question? Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Just wanted to know this ICF accreditation. Is it a mandatory thing, or is it something that we can take as we go along at a later period? How necessary is it that accreditation?
Yeah, sorry, I just missed that word. Are you talking about the certification?
Yeah, the ICF, the International Coach Federation accreditation. How essential is that for coaching as a business? Okay,
so again, that varies from country to country and from business to business, whether the certification is necessary. There are many organisations now around the world who want to employ coaches who do have a qualification. So of course you will get a certificate at the end of this which will have you be a Results Associate Certificate of Coaching. That will be your certificate. And I mean, I guess that I would personally, after being in the coaching business for 14 years and being involved with training coaches around the world, I would always recommend people to go down the certification route just for their own professional development, if nothing else. That's the reason that I would recommend it, and also that you are recognised. You have a code of ethics that you can adhere to. It gives you a safety it gives you a professional organisation to align with. So that's why I would recommend it. And of course you can you will be ready to do that by the end of this program.
Okay. Thank you, Andy.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Thank you. The next question is from Bangalore location and the number ends with 4533. Your line is unmuted.
Okay. Hi, this is Naveen here.
Hello, Naveen.
Hi. Linley, thank you so very much. Very enlightening conversation. I personally got a lot, and thanks to all the participants for pitching in. Just a couple of questions. One is, I've been doing coaching for a little bit. By profession, I'm a management consultant. I'm a HR consultant. And so when you really look at these certifications, are there different levels of coaching? What is the highest level, and where does ACC certification fall in that level? One other additional question I actually had was for doing the 3-day program. Is it only in Delhi, or are you going to be having these sessions in Bangalore as well? 2 questions.
Okay, great question. Thank you, Naveen. Okay, so your first question about the certification and the coaching levels. The Associate Certified Coach is the very first level of certification, and it is a well-respected level, but it is the beginner level. So it's where you come into the profession. So you need to have 100 hours of coaching logged, of coaching experience, and 60 hours of coach training to achieve your ACC certification. And then there's quite a big learning curve for people to get to the next level. And the next level would be Professional Certified Coach, PCC. And for that you need to log 750 hours of coaching experience with clients. And you also need to do another 65 hours of coach-specific training. So you really, at ACC, you're being recognised for your commitment to approved coach-specific training. You're being recognised for being in the coaching environment and joining the ICF and becoming a professional. And so the Professional Certified Coach, being the next step at 750 hours, does take, unless you've already got a lot of coaching hours that you've already, at this stage you can still use coaching hours that you have logged pre your coach training. But 750 hours of coaching takes 3 to 4 years to achieve. And of course then you have to find the advanced coach training as well, which can be offered in many ways. So that's the second level, and that's a very highly regarded level of coaching. And at this stage, the Master Certified Coaches, they have 2,500 hours of coaching under their belt, and they have 200 plus hours of coach-specific training. Mm-hmm. So those 2,500 hours would probably take someone around about 7 years to achieve. So is that helpful on that question, Naveen? And then I'll get to your next question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And what sort of coaching have you all been doing, Naveen?
Actually, I used to be an apprentice to Dr. Don Clifton. So I'm a strengths coach.
Okay.
I got trained way back in 96, 97. One of the 10, 12 people whom Don coached personally. So I must have
Yes.
done about 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 strength coaching in my career of 20 years now.
Okay.
So, behavioral transformation coaching, leadership development. I have my own model of transforming leaders and helping them grow. So I've coached CEOs of organizations and business leaders to become better. So
Yes.
the model really is bringing about business transformation through personal transformation. So principles of coaching, I don't have a certification, but I've been doing this decently well, I guess.
And yes, and Naveen, I meet many people like you around the world who have been coaching for many years, and now they're wanting to bring all of that experience and knowledge together to get an international certification. And of course, coming back into a training and doing approved coach-specific training hours is absolutely the simplest way to do that. And you know, you always learn something new. Always learn something new. So, your second question was about the 3-day program in Delhi. My understanding is that there will be a 3-day program in Bangalore in November, the end of November.
Okay.
Well, there may be more than that, but that's the one that I know that I'm going to be involved in. And then one in Mumbai in February. So, and I believe if you contacted NLG, that they may have other programs running throughout the year. They're just ones that I won't personally be involved in. So checking with the office about the schedule would be the thing to do.
Sure, will do. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, lovely to talk with you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Naveen. Next question is from the number that ends with 3336. Your line is unmuted.
Hello, thank you. I have a twofold question. One is following up about the certificate and what you can get after the course. So if I get you right, you finish this course, then you get a certificate. And with this certificate, you can do a test to become an international coach at the first level. Is this right?
Yes. Yes, that's right. The only other thing that you have to do is to ensure that you have coached for 100 hours.
Okay. But the test, what does it take? Does it take a preparation on top of the training you'll be doing, or could you straight do this test? Is it a one-day test? What kind of things are implied?
Okay, so the test, by the end of this program, you should be very well prepared for it, because the test is 180 questions, multi-choice, delivered online, and you're allowed 3 hours to do it. It takes you over the ethics of coaching, and it goes through the ICF core competencies. And my understanding is that, I know that during the brain-based coaching skills 3-dayer, we talk about the competencies, and they will be in your manual. And so you will have all the material available to you for that test by the time you finish this program.
Great. And the other question is really just to recap if I got you correctly. So the first part, the first unit, the face-to-face, will provide us information about how does it work. The second unit is the practicing. We'll do practicing. The third unit is getting feedback on how to improve our coaching practice. And the fourth is tools we can use or give the coachee to use, right?
pretty much right. But I do want to impress that and make sure that everyone's clear that the unit that's running, the first unit that's running on the 17th, 18th, 19th of June, you get lots of coaching practice. You will do lots of coaching in those 3 days. And the core unit 2 just takes it increases the practice, but it also adds a whole lot more new knowledge. So the first 2 units are very much about building your coaching skills.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Lovely to talk with you.
Same.
Thank you very much. Next question is from the number that ends with 4588. Your line is unmuted.
Hi, good morning, Linley.
Good morning.
You hear me? Good morning. Hi, this is Udayan Banerjee here.
Sorry, it is who?
Udayan Banerjee.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi. Udayan Banerjee here. Thank you for a very wonderful session. I too learned a lot. My question is, can you shed a little more light on the second program that we've been informed about, which is the Result Certified Coach?
The second unit?
No, I don't know whether it's a second unit, but when I got a mail, it talks about 2 programs. One is the Associated Certified Coach and the other is a Result Certified Coach, both of which are being held concurrently on the same days in June in Delhi itself.
Okay. No, I can't actually. So they're in that. Are they not the same thing? Do you think they're different things?
If I look at the mail, no, they're different things. Yeah, they've been positioned as 2 separate programs being organized concurrently.
Okay. Well, I'm really sorry that I can't
All right, no problem. No issues.
answer that, but the office will be able to.
I'll take it up with them. I'll take it up with someone in the office.
Thank you so much. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. Once again, audio participants, if you wish to ask any question or want to share any feedback, please press 01 on your telephone keypad.
Okay. And I do have a couple of questions that I can answer. Kavita, is there a certification test for this certification? There isn't a test for the Results Associate Certificate of Coaching. If you've completed all the hours, that gets you your certificate at the end. There is a certification test for your ICF ACC, which is the Coach Knowledge Assessment, the 180 multi-choice online questionnaire that I spoke about before. So I hope that helps you with that, Kavita. And how many participants do we have in a batch? Less than 24. So that is that. And yes, there is one planned in Mumbai, and that will be in, well, again, check with the office, because I won't be the only facilitator. I won't be the only lead trainer. They may have other ones happening throughout the year, but I know that I'm involved in one in February next year. Project management, Kavita's asking again, you teach project management, where would I find clients for this new area of specialization? Gosh, that's a good question, Kavita. I suspect that you would find clients within all of the areas that you teach project management. So all of those organizations that people belong to that you teach project management in will love to be coached, because I always think about coaching as being like a project management. And so if you're using coaching skills or coaching people through projects, they learn and so much more quickly. I've known of projects coming in more on time, on budget. So coaching really does assist in project management. And I guess that's where you'd find your client base and people that are interested in project management. So I know that there's some other questions. Vijay was asking, how do Indian coaches do abroad? I know a number of Indian coaches around the world that have ones that I meet at conferences that work with me on international projects, people that have relocated to different areas. I think that people really enjoy working with people from different cultures, and particularly, you know, Indian coaches would understand a lot of other cultures very, very well, and they would do very well there. And I understand that there's lots of Indian coaches in the Middle East as well. So, and Kavita, I hope that your question now about is there room for coaching for folks who are involved in technical training has been answered. I believe that using a coaching approach or coaching skills and your knowledge of the brain really helps enhance technical training. So, So any more questions? I'm really happy to be here for another 10 minutes and would love to interact with some more voices.
Ms. Rose, we don't have any indication for the audio Q&A.
Okay, no more voices, but I think Vijay is still okay. Adayan is asking for a little bit more on Core 2. Yes, okay. Now, I don't have that content right in front of me, but I guess what I do know is that it will include things like it will include a lot more deeper work around working with habits. We'll do some of that in our 3 days. It will include a lot more work on, I'll just look at our, I'm just looking at the, it will include a lot more work on how to coach in a more formal way. So how do you set goals and how you create a coaching series with people. So all of those things will be learned in the engagement session. What you will leave the first 3 days with is a coaching model to be able to use coaching anywhere that at any time, and you will have learned all the basic foundational tools and theory, and then you will learn to do formal coaching. You will learn about reviewing actions with people, creating great actions. You'll learn a bit more about emotional regulation and going forward. Yeah, so sorry if that sounds a wee bit garbled at this point, just because I don't have the schedule in front of me. Vijay, what are the equivalent certification to ICF? Okay, this gives you enough to apply for that first level at ICF. So this is this 3 day. The results Associate Certificate of Coaching, completing the 4 modules, is equivalent to the ACC ICF certification. And no, you do not need to have any prior coaching experience to be able to do any of these modules. This is, I know a lot of people who are experienced do come into the programs, but it's completely suitable for people that have never coached before. So, great. Good to see some questions still coming through. Okay. So, Udan, I'm sure that if you ask the office, they would give you the whole outline for core module 2. And beautiful. Thank you for doing that. Okay, someone else is still typing. So nice to hear voices though. So please don't be afraid to use your telephone and come on in so that we can actually speak. Too much of my voice. It's lovely to hear your voices as well. No, I don't take Core 2. Udiane asked me that. Not at this point, not for this program. And you will meet the person that is going to be taking Core 2. They will be part of the training team on the brain-based coaching skills program for the 3 days. It looks like I've got a fan out there. Thank you very, very much for your support, Udan. Okay. Okay. So we'll just give it another couple of minutes so that if anything else comes to mind that you really do want to know about, then I am still here to answer those questions. We have Sushila on. Sushila, you might be able to actually type in the answer to the question on the content of Core 2 because I think people are really interested in that. And so we'll see if Sushila will type that in for us. Because I know Sushila's in the office. Okay. And Vivek is typing as well. Naveen is typing. So let's see what's coming through. I guess while I'm waiting on those things to come through, one of the things that I'm absolutely clear about is that doing some really excellent coach-specific training, such as what the Neuroleadership Group offer with the Results Associate Certificate of Coaching, is a wonderful way to kickstart your coaching career. It just gives you such a strong foundation. It's such a professional, it's aligned with everything that you can think of that is professional. So, okay. Okay, so everyone was just typing to say thank you for us sharing it, for my sharing of insights and everything else. And yes, Udan, whatever it is you're doing tomorrow, anything that I've shared with you, you're welcome to pass on, because we completely believe in spreading the word, and that you'll find that this is a very generous program in how you can use the materials that you're offered. How many practical hours do you think we'll get in the face-to-face session? Whoa, you will be, I haven't added up the practice hours actually, but I know that each day you'll be practicing everything that we introduce in theory. You will get to practice it. So while you might not do whole coaching sessions every couple of hours, you will be practicing elements of them. So you would not go an hour without being in practice with something related to the coaching process or a coaching skill. So sometimes it's only a 5-minute exercise, sometimes it's a 30-minute exercise, sometimes it's just, you know, a 10 or 15-minute, and sometimes it's just a minute, by learning how to speak or learn how to acknowledge, all sorts of things. So most of the session is interactive and not me lecturing as such. It's a very, it's something that we do together. The coaching hours at the training count? No, they don't. Emmanuel has asked if the coaching hours at the training count for the 100 hours of coaching needed for the ICF test. No, and the reason for that is your coaching hours have to be with an agreement and have to be, most 80% of them have to be paid hours, or hours that can be considered as paid hours. So you might be working as an internal coach, or you might be bartering, contracting services. That would, all of those things would count as paid hours. And if you had an agreement with one of the people in the course that you're working with, particularly from Module 2 onwards, then it may count, because you would be swapping coaching. But yeah, that will evolve as you get more into it, but in general, not really. Okay. We're just about at the end. In fact, we are at the end, so we have taken our complete time. I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody that has taken time out of their busy day to come along to this session and to stay until the end and really be engaged in the information that I am sharing with you. And I truly hope that any of those unanswered questions, you'll just take them straight to the office, and they will absolutely help you out. So, and because I've been able to hear Indian voices again and be able to talk about this program, I'm getting very, very excited about the 17, 18, 19 of June, and I'm hoping that there might be some of you there that I'm going to meet face to face. So until then, or until a next session like this, I'd like to say goodbye and have a great day.